Are you an international student looking to come to college in the United States and wondering how the heck you're going to pay for it? A lot of international students get sticker shock when they start to look at U.S. colleges and universities because many of the sticker prices on American colleges are exceedingly high. The average cost of an in-state ranked public institution is around $10,388 a year. The average cost of a private college is around $38,185 a year, and that's just for tuition and fees. It doesn't cover housing, it doesn't cover flights. There are a lot of other expenses involved in your education as well. So when you add all of that up, we're talking potentially six figures and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you're an international student, the question becomes, how in the world do you pay for this? And that's what we're going to talk about in this video: scholarships and need-based aid for international students. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is meets needs schools and schools that meet 100% of your demonstrated financial need. Now, some of these colleges might be what we call need aware, and a few, just a token few, are going to be need blind. And what I mean by that is for international admissions, more often than US admissions, we find that colleges and universities that are offering to cover 100% of whatever it is that you need to attend there are going to be a little bit more selective if you do apply for aid. However, some of these schools may not be need blind. What that means is some of these schools are going to take into account your financial situation when they decide whether to admit you or not. If you're a US student, there are grants that are given by the federal government for people who are low income. And so when these schools are trying to meet 100% of your demonstrated need, it is more expensive for them to meet 100% of demonstrated need for low income students that are coming from an international location than that are qualified for domestic grants and federal government aid. So that's one of the reasons that you might find that it's a little bit harder to get into these schools if you are an international student. It just depends, and it varies from school to school. And you might face more competitive admissions if you ask for financial aid. But if you get in, you know that you will be able to potentially pay for it because they're going to try to create a package for you that fits the income ability of your family. So I recommend that you check out each individual university and see whether they are need blind or need aware, or need sensitive, sometimes is another term that colleges will use. But in any case, these colleges, if you apply and you get in and you apply for aid, will meet 100% of demonstrated need, even for international students. Amherst, Bowdoin, Claremont McKenna, Colby, Columbia, Davidson, Harvard, Pomona, Princeton, Stanford, Swarthmore, University of Chicago, Penn, Vanderbilt, Washington and Lee University, and Yale University. The next list of schools that I'm going to talk about are schools that offer 100% of demonstrated need to people below a certain income threshold. So for example, Brown University is loan-free if your parents make less than $100,000 without assets, or less than $60,000 if they have a certain level of assets. And so with all of these universities, I'm not going to necessarily get into the specifics, but we will have them on our blog. So definitely check out our blog for more of these details. But these next kind of tier of universities are going to offer potentially really great financial aid policies, again, if you can get in. So schools on this list: Brown, Cornell, Dartmouth, Duke, Haverford, MIT, Northwestern, Rice, Vassar, Wash U in St. Louis, and Wellesley College are all going to offer 100% potential loan-free aid if you are below a certain income threshold, which basically could amount to a full ride for many of you if you're below that threshold. And the cutoff is going to vary. Some schools it's $60,000 a year, some schools it's $100,000 a year. And you can check out the individual policies on those schools. And again, we're going to have more detail on the blog that goes with this video, so be sure to check that out. Another thing that you can check out at our website, if you haven't yet, we have 2 online courses for the SAT and the ACT. You can find those at SupertutorTV.com. If you want to get prepped for both of these exams, I've helped coach students to perfect scores on both of them. I'd love to share my insights with you, so be sure to check that out. Also, if you're looking to up your game on your essays or for a private tutor for the SAT or the ACT, be sure to check out SupertutorTV.com/tutoring. And we have 2 books for the ACT math section. If that's more your speed, you can find those on Amazon.com. We also have some live classes with me that are coming up. I'm going to be doing an essay course this summer. And then I've been doing some crash courses and some like intensive courses as well. So if you want to find out more about those offerings, be sure to subscribe to our mailing list, supertutortv.com/subscribe. Cool. Let's get back to talking about more aid for international students. Next up, I want to talk about merit aid. Usually when it comes to merit aid in the United States, most merit scholarships are institution-based. That means, for example, if you apply to the University of Southern California, they have a particular scholarship that's merit-based for international students that is run through the university. So if you get that scholarship, you can only use it at USC. You can't use it anywhere. There certainly are some scholarships that are sort of not related to any particular campus or school. And if you get that scholarship, you can spend it at whatever college you want. But the majority, like I said, are going to be institution specific. The first one that I'm going to talk about is actually like a consortium of about 400 different universities. It's called You Are Welcome Here Scholarship. It has participating colleges and universities, and there are 2 renewable scholarships at each participating college. You can check that out. Hashtag You Are Welcome Here is the hashtag. You can Google it and find their website. That's one you can check into. And there's a lot of different colleges that participate. Next up, we have American University has an Emerging Global Leader Scholarship. It's full tuition, room and board. You can check that out at american.edu. Duke has the Karsh International Scholarship Program. That's a full ride. Some schools that offer full tuition scholarships: George Washington University, St. Lawrence, Temple, Tulane, University of Kansas. I also believe University of Southern California has a full tuition scholarship available for international students, though I think their official paperwork says that it varies. So I'm not quite sure where the status of that is, but I do know that in the past they have offered very generous sort of full tuition amounts. Tuition is a little bit different from what we call a full ride, because a full ride would also include your room and board, meaning everything's free. Your entire cost of attendance is free. Full tuition means all of the school part is free. And that's typically how things work, like in Europe, right? They're not going to pay for your apartment where you live, but they will pay for like the classes that you take. Like that's like public education, right? Let's talk about some other scholarships where you can get like $10,000 a year, $20,000 a year, depending on the college. Indiana University Bloomington has a Global Engagement Scholarship. Miami University, Ohio has the International Education Scholarship. Michigan State University has some good scholarships, Northeastern. University of Alabama, University of Cincinnati, University of Denver, University of Iowa, University of Kentucky, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, University of Minnesota, University of Oregon, USC, University of Southern California, University of Tulsa, and University of Vermont. So those are all colleges, like I said, that have specific money set aside just for international students, which is kind of cool because you have better odds of getting that cash if you happen to be an international student than you do of general scholarships that might be available to everyone. For the most part, many traditional scholarships at universities are going to be open to U.S. students only. So beelining for schools that have specific scholarships set up for international students is kind of a good idea. And that brings me to the final section of this video where I'm going to talk about which colleges in the U.S. are giving the most amount of aid as a percentage of their sort of undergraduate body toward international students. U.S. News and World Report has ranked who's giving international students the most aid based on the size of the class, right? So number 1 on this list is Haverford, which is a small liberal arts college. So clearly Haverford doesn't have the most number of international students in the United States on its campus, but it has a good amount. And given its size, it's contributing the largest average aid per international student. It has 48 international students as of 2020 to 2021. Columbia in New York, Skidmore College, Wesleyan, Wellesley, tongue twister, Yale, Washington and Lee, Stanford, Cornell, and Duke all are giving on average more than $64,000 a year, which is basically close to full tuition, I would guess, at most of these institutions to international students. So there's just like another kind of way to look at it. These schools are giving the largest dollar sum monetary amount per student to each student that's applying that's international. So other schools to check out if you need help paying for a U.S. college. And there you go. Hopefully that's a good starting place for some of you guys. If you're an international student, one other tip that I have for you is be sure to check out our video where I explain the U.S. educational system. I know I'm throwing some words around here like liberal arts college, and you might not know what a liberal arts college is. I explain it in this video. And I also give some more tips on applying and navigating within the U.S. system if you do not come from the U.S. So I recommend you guys check that out. If you like this video and you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. And like I said, go check out our blog that goes with this video. Thanks for watching, you guys. Take care, and I'll see you next time.